What's up, CHFFL? Welcome back to the pre-draft Outlook series. Today we're going to tackle two teams, Zach Minney and Grant McCarty. So we're not going to waste any time. We're going to dive right in. First up is Minney. Last year, had a somewhat disappointing season. He went 5-9 after starting 4-2. His next win was in week 14. That is a lot of L's in a row, partially due to an injury to Deshaun Watson, who I have as Minney's only potential keeper. Honestly, if you want, go look at his team, but I only have one guy here. Watson, he can keep in the 8th, coming off, I think, free agency. Anyway, his average draft position, ESPN PPR, is 48. Fantasy Pros ECR has him ranked at number 54, and Minney can keep him with the 91st pick. That's a pretty solid value. On the draft board side of things, Minney's missing his 5th round pick. He swapped it for a 10 at some point along the season, and otherwise it's as you would expect. So no 5th round pick, but he can keep a guy at kind of a 5th round value in the 8th round. I consider that to be right at average or a little below. I give Minney a C+. Now there is going to be a slight shift in the grades. I will address that at the end of this presentation if you think that that isn't quite square with what I've given so far. But, as I said, we're doing two teams today, and next up is Grant McCarty. Grant had a very interesting 2017 season. He went 9-5. He was second in the league in scoring, at least for the regular season, and he did the first conditional draft pick trade in league history, where the round pick he would have had to trade would go up if he made the championship. He did not, because in the second round against Parker, Grant had his worst game of the season and got kicked out of the winner's bracket into the 3rd place game where he lost to Mark. So how does Grant look this season? As far as potential keepers, I have 3 for him: Derrick Henry, Tevin Coleman, and Robbie Gould. Obviously, Robbie Gould is the best keeper anybody could have. 8th round is incredible value for one of the most talented players NFL has ever seen. But I'll cover Henry and Coleman anyway. Grant can keep Derrick Henry in the 9th. He has an average draft position of 47, and he's ranked 63 on Fantasy Pros. I think the rank 63 is probably a little more accurate. Henry is fighting for his starting spot, so I expect that to fluctuate as news comes out in the preseason. Tevin Coleman, I know Grant is a big fan of him, and I put him in here as an option. He can keep him in the 8th. ADP is 81 right now. Fantasy Pros rank is 85. Grant can keep him at pick 92. I'm not sure how I personally feel about these picks. I know Grant's a big Coleman fan. Around that 8th round, you normally have some pretty good talent that tends to drop in our league and in our draft. So I don't know if I like restricting my flexibility for a guy who's going around the same pick, but I'm going to have the same questions when I do my own preview. So I could see Grant taking both Henry and Coleman, because obviously he's not wise enough to take Robbie Gould, even with my suggestion. Looking at Grant's draft board, he traded away his 5th round pick last year, and his 10th, and his 11th for a bunch of very late rounders. I think that this is really going to make drafting tough for Grant. No 5 is one thing. I assume he'll have keepers in the 8th and 9th, or at least the 9th. So you're talking about not picking an 8 or 9 or 10 or 11. That's really cutting down on your flexibility, and it's probably making him reach for either a quarterback or a tight end or something earlier than he'd like to, or settling for whatever he can get in the 12th and 13th round. So I have Grant at a pretty bad outlook. Despite Derrick Henry being a decent keeper, I give him a C. Now, I have been putting disclaimers on all of these grades that I reserve the right to adjust them, and I have slightly, and the only thing I did was I moved Mark from a B+ to a B. I think now that I've done 4 teams, I'm starting to get a picture of how the rest of the league is going to look. I still have Swan at an A. I still think he looks great with those 3rd through 5th round picks and a couple of keepers. He's going to just be so deep. Minney and Mark might seem about the same. Mark basically has Carson Wentz, I think, is a little better value of a keeper than Deshaun Watson because Mark can keep him with a later pick. And then Mark had Will Fuller. So I think his keeper situation is justifiably two half grade letter grades above Minney. So there you have it. We'll start adding to this list really soon. I hope you are enjoying these videos. If you are, I've created a playlist just with the pre-draft outlook, so you can get in the corner. Subscribe to the channel to get them first, or see me on Twitter at CHFFLCommish. And until next time, I'll catch you later.